Nick, pick a number between 31 and 40.
7.
All right, my game from that is...
It's Nick and Mike's top 100 games. But does anyone care what they have to say? Let's. I know I don't. Cause they may dab, they might scream, they may say some things that are plain wrong. Dab on it, dab on it. But they are dumb bing bongs. My teacher's better.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph. It's time to continue down the train that is this top 100. Each car is 10 games in its own. 10 games, which are really 20 games because we're each doing 10. You get it. It's math. It's games, Nick. We're talking about games.
We are talking about games, indeed.
We are getting into some, I'm not going to lie, we're getting into some all-timers now.
I'm getting more and more excited as the list goes on because I like these games more, obviously, because they're higher on the list.
So
I'm
the
just
games
I'm
are,
excited.
as we said several times, trash. Dead
indeed.
to us.
In this whole top 100, we are partnering with Tabletop Alliance, who's a really, really cool nonprofit organization where they work with schools and teachers specifically to get games in the hands of those teachers. They can use them for after-school groups, to use them during their school lessons. Like you could use like Cytosis during like high school science class and stuff like that. It's very, very cool. So we have a donation button on the right side of your screen over there. Please donate. $1 helps one kid. That's how they work the whole thing out. So every single buck you can give helps one kid. It's super cool.
Absolutely. Let's raise as much as we can.
Yeah,
Think
let's
about it. Every
smash
dollar
it.
is a student. We've already raised over half our goal, but let's smash that
Indeed.
goal.
You can follow a link up here, which has a video with more information on it. If you're a teacher, you can get involved as well. But Mikey, let's go ahead and get into number 40.
Number 40.
Ooh. My number 40 is was on your list last time, I believe, and this is Framework. Framework is a game that is just easy. It is the most tableable game that we have right now.
Kind of. I mean, there is no setup. There's a bunch of tiles in a bag, and
Draw
you have to give people some discs and you're playing. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an easier to set up game.
This game gets to the table all the time because everyone really, really enjoys it. This is a game that kind of takes after Sagani, Nova Luna, which is based off of Habitats. Nova Luna has some like patchwork vibes. It's kind of all...
Those are all based off of Candyland.
Yeah, exactly. It's all different kinds of stuff. But ultimately, they're all similar games. But this is a game where you're going to have these tiles. These tiles are going to have different, what are they called, tasks?
A certain amount of stuff that needs to be surrounding them to complete, which is the goal of the game.
And they want these tasks want certain frames around them. There's different frames like green and brown and silver and gold and stuff like that. And then all other tiles will have frames on them, and sometimes they can have tasks and frames. So on your turn, if you're the first player, you'll put out tiles equal to the number of players plus 1. You will draft a tile, put it in next to another tile in your little growing Tableau frame engine kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then everyone will draft a tile. There'll be one tile left over. You're the first player. You get that tile, so you'll get 2 tiles. And you're basically trying to complete these tasks. These tasks will want certain things near them. So this task might be like, there needs to be 6 green frames touching this task. But these are 4-sided square tiles.
How do I do it, man?
How do you do that? There's something called follow-through adjacency, which means if this is a task that needs 6 green frames, and there is a green frame next to it, and then a green frame next to that green frame, that is considered to still be adjacent.
There's nothing breaking up the flow.
Exactly. So you can have a green frame all the way over here that would still count for that task as long as there's an unbroken line or group of greens touching that one. And so you can kind of build these big engines where you have I have this big area of like these brown wooden frames. And so now anytime I grab like a 3 or 4 brown wooden frame task, I can put it near this group and boom, instantly completed. And you're trying to get rid of all your discs. You're basically trying to complete
It's a
tasks,
race, yeah.
Which is nice because you can do it with a bunch of small tasks. You can do it with a bunch of big tasks. You're just trying to get rid of your disc, and it just works so well. I like it significantly more than Nova Luna. I never played Sagani, but it just takes away...
streamlines the drafting of the tiles.
Yes.
Right?
The Nova Luna has the patchwork kind of drafting situation where you can only draft 3 ahead of you. Tiles have time on them. You move forward on the time track kind of
Whoever's
thing.
most behind takes their turn.
Get rid of all that. Just give me the simple frames. It works so, so well. Nova Luna is great, but it's like Framework just makes it simple, gets down to what's the crux of the game. Just do that.
Build a tableau.
Framework is incredible. It's number 40. I think it's going to stay here for a minute. Framework is so good.
It's one of those games that you'll play and then put the tiles back in the bag and immediately play again.
Yes.
I don't often play one time. We'll play a couple rounds, and there's not many games that we do that with.
No.
And it's small enough and easy enough, and you can explain to everybody. That's a great pick.
Yeah, Framework is so good.
Yeah, it's so good. My number 40 is a classic to this point. It's not that old or whatever, but a classic in my mind. press your luck game that is just pure press your luck with some fun powers. It's the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Oh, yeah.
This is one that I remember the first moment I ever saw this and played this was at a Dice Tower convention where Dave Luza brought over his copy from Germany. They weren't over here yet.
They weren't, yeah.
And we played it, and I was just like, that was some of the most fun I've ever had playing a game. Obviously, it was, the situation, it was the night before a convention, there's a lot of things going into it, but it just got a lot of good mojo into and surrounding the feeling of that game, and that game is super fun.
It's great.
Pure fun. It had better be, because it's just a push your luck game. You could have bad luck, you could have good luck. There's not a whole lot of mitigation of that luck.
Yeah.
But in this game, you're pulling these chits out of a bag, and you're making like a potion. You're making
you're throwing stuff into a pot.
A magical brew in this big cauldron, mixing all sorts of ingredients like bird skulls and spiders and stuff like that, because you're this quack doctor trying to make an awesome solution. Every chit that you pull will have a value on it, and that will be placed that many spaces ahead of the last chip. So if it's a 3, you'll see where the last chip was in this kind of ever spiraling cauldron. You'll go 3 spaces ahead, plop that down. You're trying to get as far out from the middle of the cauldron as you can to give you the most points, the most money, to buy better chits and all that kind of stuff. Each little chit comes with a power for the most part, so you're trying to chain together stuff where your mushrooms might allow your white chips to move further now, so you want to get a mushroom play so your white chips are more valuable. Speaking of those white chips, if enough of those come out, if the total value exceeds 7, your cauldron explodes. And so the thing I love about this game is if your cauldron explodes, obviously you wish it didn't.
It's not ideal.
It's not the end of the world. No. It just means that in the kind of buying phase and the score points phase, you'll choose, do I want to spend money or do I want to score points? You don't get both. And you can't roll the little bonus die, which only one person gets to roll anyway. So it's like, it's not the biggest issue. So it makes it so much more fun to like, I'm going to pull one more chit, you know what I mean? Because it's not so devastating until the later rounds if you blow it. And so I love that where it really does tempt you to pull one more chit. Because like, man, if I pull a mandrake at this point, it's over for you butts.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting crushed.
It's so powerful.
This is one we've enjoyed so much. We have special bags from BGG. Obviously, the upgraded bits from Board Game Geek are maybe the best component upgrade ever created. Because those original chits get... they get sticky, from finger oils because you're grabbing them and stuff like that. And those upgraded bits make the game so much more playable, so much more satisfying. That's why they've sold out every time they get printed.
Yes, immediately.
And they will for the end of time. Quacks and Quedlinburg is so fun. There's multiple versions of each of the powers the chits have. There's a lot of economy there where it's like, I don't have to get new bits. I just say, like, this book is out now, so this is what this chit does. And they're always kind of similar.
We talk about with Kubitos. It's like the dice are always the same Kubitos, but the power changes out. And it's such an easy, economical way to do that. Because you don't need new chits. You just need a new
reference card
stock.
Yeah, I feel like games are doing that more and more right now, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
Of like, let's just have this piece of paper tell you what these things do, and we get to keep the deluxe bits. We don't need 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
Quacks and Quedlinburg's just press your luck, pure and fun.
It did not make my top 100. I've cooled on it a decent amount.
I've cooled on it for sure, but man, it's like it always goes over really well.
I also think with COVID and stuff like that, this is a game I'd love to introduce to newer people.
It hasn't been as much,
and we just haven't done that as much, so I haven't been playing it as much.
Nick and I aren't going to bust it out ourselves much to play it because it's like we've played it a lot, but I love to show it to people. You're right, and there hasn't been a ton of opportunity.
I think if we're playing it with more people, I think it would probably climb back up for me. It just has been kind of out of sight, out of mind.
I'm excited to get the kids version in a few years once Logan's old enough. So yeah, it's been really fun, really great game. That's number 40, Quacks of Quedlinburg.
All right, let's get into number 39.
My number 39 is a 1 to 2 player, big Uwe Rosenberg farming type game called The Fields of Arl.
It is good.
Fields of Arl is such a...
I'm actually surprised this is quite so high. I knew it'd be in your top 100. I figured it'd be lower, though.
I kind of did, too. And I think
dumb good.
Where I'm at with Fields of Arl is I'm so intrigued by the fact that it's this big game, but it's a 1 to 2 player. You can make it 3 player with the expansion. But even then, it's a limited player count game, but it's in the same size box as like a Caverna. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Totally.
So I think maybe there's the intrigue of this one. This is a game that does typical kind of Uwe Rosenberg stuff where you need to get parts of your fields covered, or in this case, first drain the swamps and get the peat out of it. You gotta cut that peat, which is used as fuel and stuff during the winter. But this game plays with seasons. So you have the kind of summer season and the winter season.
Yep.
And your workers will go on the left half of the action board or the right half of the action board, depending on the season you're on. And you will have different kind of end of season stuff that happens depending on if you're preparing for winter or preparing for summer.
Yep.
So as you're going into winter, you need to have heat and stuff to kind of heat yourself. So it does the kind of typical feed your people stuff, keep your people going kind of thing. But I really love the playing with the season aspect of like during the winter, you might do a little more inside stuff. You can kind of upgrade. There's more things to kind of upgrade the actions in the game and things like that. And I think this one's just intriguing because there's a lot of buildings that you can acquire, most of which we never have. There's a lot of variability there because most of the buildings we haven't even explored. Yeah. But you're trying to fill up your board, get a bunch of animals, a nice variety of animals as well, because at the end of the game, whatever animal you have the least of is the most valuable. So ideally you have as an equal amount of them all.
Because the one you have the most of is worth nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't want to have 50 cows and one sheep and one horse. Yeah, it doesn't help you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those kind of balance elements, getting some buildings to fill up your board, things that will give you more stuff during the harvest. There's also this like delivery system in the game where you're going to be producing different types of goods like clothing and such. And you can put them onto carts and deliver them to the surrounding towns. As you get the surrounding towns, you'll get to select that tile from the board, flip it over, and put it on the kind of, I don't know, pathway part of your player board.
You're like
which will give you points
to like the sea or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's just you kind of charting around and doing deliverables and things. That's kind of interesting because there's this little puzzle of the carts, the amount of space they have, how much stuff you can deliver to a certain town on your board. So you're trying to get basically a bunch of stuff on your board you're trying to fill up as much as you can. It's a fun puzzle, one that we haven't I certainly have not cracked. I'm not very good at the game. And I think that's why it's high, is because I'm like, it's something I want to like invest more in. I want to get the expansion and really dig in because it's a great 1 to 2 player large Uwe Rosenberg game. So that's Fields of Arle. It's really interesting, and I want to explore it a lot more.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. My number 39 is Tidal Blades Heroes of the Reef. This is the first Tidal Blades because now there's kind of 3. So this is the first one. I really, really like Tidal Blades, and this is one of those games where like it was interesting. We played this game way when it was back. We were
here on it way back when,
way high, and then we played it for the first time and went really far down, and then we started playing it more and went back up.
Yeah,
because this is a game where it's like you're trying to be Tidal Blades. You're going around. Tidal Blades are these kind of like heroes, kind of American Gladiator type stuff, and you're going around to different parts of the world here, and you are essentially putting on shows, doing stunts, trying to get like the crowd into it and stuff like that.
Doing challenges.
But you're building out these dice. It's kind of like a dice tech tree where you're constantly upgrading your dice to like better versions because you're trying to do these tasks, and these tasks are going to require certain dice faces.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those games where the first time you play it, it's kind of hard to figure out how to work everything. And so it kind of, the first play of it is honestly not that great.
I think this game rewards multiple plays.
You really
for sure.
But it's like, but then once you start playing more, you get to be able to work that engine a little bit more. You get to do some more. And I really, really enjoy it. It's such a fun game, good kind of dice chucking game. You can build out your characters. Your characters are all unique because throughout the game, you're able to put out these power cards, which make you even more unique. There's also a whole bunch of them for every character, but you only ever can put out 4. So even if you're playing the same character, it will be most likely different each time.
That's one of my favorite things. Like they'll give you suggested cards if it's your first game, but then just start shuffling up because you'll get these different synergies and things you can do. And that's one of my favorite things.
Super cool.
As you go through the game, you will get more and more asymmetric.
Yes, you will.
Which is really neat. You start a little asymmetric and then you diverge.
And there's big monsters that are trying to come in and you'll fight them off and gain glory and stuff like that. It's just really, really good. Also, like the production is bonkers because it's Druid City Games. It comes in this humongous box.
The only thing that might best it is like Wonderland's War. So either way, Druid City Games wins.
Pretty much Druid City Games all the way. It's so good. It's one of my favorite themes. Mr. Cuddington, who did the art, they're the ones, like Druid City said, hey, we want to make a game with your art. Make the art and we'll make a game around it. So the world building
art backward.
Yeah, it came first, and then they built this like cool jet ski world and stuff. It's just incredible. I really love it. I'm in the middle of painting the minis right now, which is super exciting.
Yeah. Now there's the second game, which kind of follows up. It's a very different kind of game. Tidal Blades. There's Tidal Blades Banner Festival. It's a trick-taking game and an RPG set in that world.
That's right. Yeah, it's all sorts of
stuff. A lot.
I love it. I think it's really, really outstanding. It's super fun. I enjoy it. It's one of those games, kind of like we talked about with Wonderland's War earlier, where it's like, kind of like Druid City Games do this a lot, unfortunately, where you kind of assume that the production is what's making the
propping it up.
And it really isn't. I think it's a really fun game. I love Tidal Blades. My number 39, which kind of surprised me, but that's it. Tidal Blades Heroes of the Reef. Let's get to number 38. Number 38 is a game that Mike likes much more than me, although I do very much like it considering it's this high, and this is Ginkopolis. Mike really, really likes Ginkopolis a lot. Ginkopolis,
You might see it later.
shout out to Steph Hodge. This is Steph Hodge's favorite game.
Thank you, Steph. Seriously.
Yes. Our
We
good
owe her
friend,
so much.
Steph Hodge, has told us about this game for years because it's her favorite game. She loves it. She plays all of the games. So, if she likes it this much, it's really good. This is a game where you are building out it's kind of a town, a city in the middle, and you're kind of jointly building it, and you're building out tiles, and then you're putting your presence on those tiles because you're the one who built it, but then people can build on top of that, so you're building up as you go, and you're trying to have a little bit of area control. This is one of those games that has a lot of mechanics, but it's not one, big mechanic. So it's got drafting in it, it's got tile placement, it's got area control, it's got engine building, all this different kind of stuff, because whenever you put out one of these tiles, you get to put the card that's the same number of that tile down in front of you, and that's going to give you some kind of power. And that could be like, hey, now every time you put out a tile, you can get a point, or you can get a resource, and you start building these kind of big, crazy engines. But the game is very, very simple. There's only 3 things you can ever do. You can play a card, put out a tile. You can play a card, put out a different kind of tile, basically. Or you can
basically either play a card to activate a tile. You can play to either expand or elevate the city. Or you can kind of throw down a card to get a resource or a tile.
And that's literally it. There's
simple.
nothing else you can do in the game, but there's so much depth to it. And it just works so
They
well.
cram a lot of types of games into a very simple machine.
It's bonkers how good this game is, considering how simple it is. It's like Mike always says, it is one of the most elegant games in terms of doing the most with the least amount of stuff there is on the planet. Ginkopolis is absolutely incredible. Big shouts out to Steph Hodge for just getting us to play this game.
I'm so grateful.
It's very, very good. Ginkopolis is my number 38. What's your number 38?
My number 38 is, man, I don't know if I have a rolling right higher. It's certainly way the heck up there. This is Cartographers or Cartographers Heroes. Who knew map making could be so fun? This is a game
It's
where
so
you
good.
are charged with making a map in a mystical world. Ulos, I think the world is, that there's role players set here, lockup, role player adventures, and now cartographers all exist in this world.
And it started with cartographers, which is kind of crazy. Oh no, role player. Sorry,
Role player, but that kind of set the stage for so much. So we are mapping out the
area.
the lands as we go and explore around it. And the way that's going to come up is you're going to draw
there's
these
forests over
exploration tile cards that are going to show you basically 2 types of things. They might show you a certain type of landscape that you have to do, like farms, for example, or forest. And it'll give you 2 options of shapes. One will be bigger, one will be a little bit smaller, and you get to get a coin. Or the inverse will happen where you have 1 shape, so you must draw that shape, but you have 2 options of types of landscape. And each of those cards that gets flipped over will provide 1 or 2 time, so that kind of times out the rounds. You don't know exactly how long every round will be. Depending on the cards, it could be a little longer, a little bit shorter, and then as you go through the seasons, time does shorten because the days, you're only walking in daylight, it's only safe, so the days get shorter.
It's true.
And this game all comes down to the scoring conditions. There are 4 scoring conditions. One that will always be related to the forest, one that will always be related to villages, one that will always be related to farms and water and their kind of relationship to each other. Another one that will be based on kind of the way that you lay out your map. And you have those 4. They'll be randomized where they are in order. And every round, at the end of the round, you will score in the first season, A and B, so whatever those scoring conditions are, and then B and C, C and D, and then D and A. So every scoring condition scores twice. And the timing of all that, figuring out okay, how do I maximize these 2 opportunities to score farms and water? Let me make sure I hit that. If those are the first, or the second and the third round are going to be that, I need to get after that early. And you kind of have this build up as the game goes, because whatever scores in the first round for A, you probably don't have a lot of time to get stuff built up.
Not really.
But it's also the last thing you score, so you may have had the whole game now to build up and have this massive score. So you see this beautiful ramp up. And it's all about fitting in these polyominoes, drawing in this map with different types of landscapes and trying to make them the most effective that you can. There are monsters that might come up as well that kind of mess with your plans and get in the way. You need to surround them to make the lands A, safe, and then also to stop negative points from happening. There's just a lot of fun stuff, but it's just kind of pure great roll and write, dealing with polyomino shapes, fitting things together in kind of a really fun, beautiful world. This game it just works. I have played this game hundreds of times between the app and real life, and it just does not get old.
And this is one of those games where like you will introduce it to someone, they will love it because of course they will.
Yep.
They will then go out and buy it, introduce it to 10 more people.
Yep.
5 of those people go buy it. This is one of those games where it's like we have one of our friends we introduced them to, and they're like, I've gotten like 10 people to buy this game, and then they've gotten people like. It's also one of those things where like you don't realize the ripple effect sometimes of that. You can never track that, obviously.
Of course,
but it's like this
crazy.
is just one of those games that just like it's because it's ultimately relatively simple.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're doing, but it goes over so well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's Cartographer's Heroes for me. Making maps is infinitely fun and doable because always the shapes are going to come out in different orders.
Yep.
The scoring conditions will be in different orders. There's a billion of the scoring. There's so much, and now there's map packs and so much. There's so much stuff to explore with Cartographers. We haven't explored even a tenth of it, and it's still an all-timer. So that's number 38, Cartographer's Heroes.
All right, let's get number 37.
Nick, do you enjoy stacking people on top of each other?
Yes.
Well, good. You're going to like this game called Castell.
Yeah, all
We're still the ones talking about it, Nick.
We are still the ones talking
about it. The rest of the world left it behind, but we haven't. Our obsession remains. Castell is a game all about making human pyramids in the Catalonia region of España, Spain.
Sure.
This is a real thing that happens. We've talked about it a bunch and stuff. There are these castellers, these Castell competitions, which are people stacking themselves into giant human pyramids, much taller than like you would expect.
Yeah.
And so this game is all about training up your troop of Castellers to be as skilled as they can be to build the most impressive human pyramids you can. And this game is something I want to see so much more of. This game comes down to you are given very strict rules about the type of pyramid you can make in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And then through training, you get all sorts of ways to break the rules.
Break them wide open, yeah.
Break those rules wide open.
Yeah.
Change them for yourself. Change them specifically for the types of things you're trying to build. And it's just so brilliant. So, for example,
the only game I can think of that does it, Yukon Airways.
Yukon Airways does this great, and I want to see more of it because I think it's so fun to be so restricted, and then you're like, oh, but I get to do this now. I think it's delicious.
Yeah.
And so in this game, you have very strict rules. At the beginning, your pyramid can only be 3 people wide. That's it. Every time you go up a level, the people are numbered. 10 are the most stout lads and ladies, and then all the way down to 1 are the smallest folks, little kids. You have to have smaller people on top of bigger people.
Yep.
All right, because you gotta have a strong foundation. You also have to get less wide. You can't have the same width of pyramid. You have to taper it down. But as you break rules, now I can have 2 levels on top of each other that can be the same width. Because we have better balance and stuff. I might have something where I can start to mix up the 9s and the 10s, which are the same. The tiles themselves are the same height. So the lads and ladies can now mix together, which gives me more flexibility. Because as you go to perform competitions and show off your skills, you're going to want to have certain numbered performers in your performing. So you're trying to cater to what the crowd's taste specifically want. So you want to have as much flexibility to be able to build a pyramid that's going to be the most valuable for this particular competition. And it's so fun to break those rules. It's one of those games where there's perfect information. You know exactly where the performances are going to happen at the start of the game. You're going to know what you need to perform there and all that jazz. And then you just spend the game trying to maximize your ability to do those competitions. It's such a fun game.
It's so good.
It's so underrated.
Really tough puzzle. Really
It's a great mental puzzle. It's so fun. That's Castell number 36. I love it
so
much.
good. It's so good. Number 37, right?
37, sorry.
Sorry, 37. My number 37 is a classic card game called Cribbage.
Ooh.
Cribbage is a great game. This is a game that we have played since we were children because we were taught by our grandparents and our uncle.
So good.
Really loved cribbage. Our grandfather was a woodworker and he made probably hundreds of cribbage boards out of just all sorts of stuff. We have a whole bunch of them here. I love collecting cribbage boards. It's like one of those things. Like people collect like chess sets. I want cribbage boards. That's
There's so many different kinds that are, we have big, we have ones that people have made us. There's big and small ones. Yeah, we got a lot.
Some followers have made us cribbage board. It's been very, very cool.
It's very cool.
I love cribbage. Cribbage is a classic card game where you are dealt a hand of 6 cards. Whoever dealt will have something called the crib, and you will have to discard down to 4 cards. You only have 4 cards in your hand, and those 2 cards go into the dealer's crib. And then you will start playing these cards. Also, last time we talked about cribbage, everyone's giving us crap about saying pegging a lot. You peg in this game. You're
Peg.
always
You're
pegging.
scoring points.
So you are.
Listen, listen, you freaks. First of all, we don't kink shame here. Second
No,
of all,
never.
sometimes you got to peg to win the game. Okay?
Exactly. Sometimes you got to peg.
assert your
But nonetheless,
dominance.
so you are playing out these cards, and so the first kind of half of the game, you are playing out the cards, and you can go up to 31. So if I play a 10, Mike plays 7, that's 17. I then play an 8, we're at 25. Mike plays a 6, boom, 31. If you can get exactly to 31, whoever gets to 31 gets 2 points.
Yeah, so
if
you're
you get
trying to thread
exactly
the
to
needle.
15, you get 2 points. Mike puts down a 6, I put down a 6, I get 2 points. So you're scoring points, you're pegging in this part.
Listen here. I don't know why they call it that. It's just what we
Because
were
you
told.
have pegs. You're moving pegs.
That makes sense.
Exactly. So you're pegging your points, and then once you're done, everyone's played out their 4 cards, you will then score your cards, and you are scoring runs, you are scoring pairs, you're scoring 15s. Again, it's like 6 and 9 would be 15, 8 and 7, 15. There's a whole bunch of different things you could score. So a really good hand would be like 6, 7, 8 would be great, because then you have the pair of 6s, you have 2 runs, because 6, 7, 8, the other 6, 7, 8, and then 7, 8 is 15. And so you're trying to score, you're trying to make these hands. It's just a classic card games, and you are pegging as you go. And the first person to get to 120 points wins the game. It's just great. This is the kind of game you play with your grandkids. I cannot wait to teach Logan, Mike's daughter.
Yeah.
We're going to teach Mike's kids and stuff
It
like
teaches
that.
arithmetic. It teaches kind
Math.
of awareness,
Yes.
math, adding, awareness of like, what do I have in my hands? There's a lot to be gleaned with
Yeah,
cribbage.
it's so good. It's a classic card game for a reason. It's been around forever for
it's
a
great.
reason. I love not Crokinole. I do love Crokinole.
Crokinole.
I love cribbage so much. It's a game that, again, it only exists as long as people keep teaching it to their kids and their grandkids and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I feel like this is,
and we're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, I feel like this one's sticking around because it's such a good thing to pass generationally down. You get it.
Generationally. Exactly. Cribbage is
Pegging.
great. Hashtag pegging. And so that's our number 37. Let's get number 36. Number 36 is a former number 1 for me. It's the game that got us here. This is Pandemic.
Oh yeah,
Pandemic is still my top 50.
hasn't really
I love
fallen
it.
off the face
Not
of the earth.
too much, especially now they keep coming up with like other pandemics,
know,
although they're
there's-
kind of very different games.
Well, there's
at
now
this
like
point.
these pandemic system games, which are
Yes.
getting further away.
Yeah, but it's cool. I love Pandemic. Pandemic is a classic game,
Oh, yeah.
one of the best-selling games of all time for a reason. It got us into the hobby. It got a lot of other people in the hobby. This is a game where you are a team of people, scientists, that kind of stuff, and there is a global pandemic going on, and you are trying to cure the 4 diseases that are spreading across the planet.
Indeed.
It's a cool game. It's a great gateway game because it's something that people have never seen before, where it's a cooperative game for one. And you have these special powers, and it just draws you in. To this day, it's still a game that I like to introduce to new people.
Oh, yeah.
If they have no idea about modern board games, hobby games, because it just grabs them. It's something we can generally all get behind too. It's like, hey, there's a global pandemic.
Wanna
Let's
save the world?
Work together and save the world. Like, it works. And then again, now there's so many different versions. There's 3 Pandemic Legacies. There's Pandemic Iberia, which is probably my favorite of like kind of like the normal just pandemics. But there's like Pandemic Rising Tides. There's like Reign of Cthulhu, whatever it's called. Fall of Rome. And then again, now there's Pandemic System Games, which is like the Wrath of the Lich King, the new Star Wars Clone Wars one. They're all really, really fun. There's also a bunch of like hot.
Yeah, they're like kind of quicker
hot route,
versions.
whatever it's called. Yeah,
Yeah.
like quicker versions. There's also Pandemic The Cure, which is like the dice game. There's a lot of Pandemic. Matt Leacock has done very well.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
working down to. It's really, really fun. Pandemic Legacies are like some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. Pandemic in general is just, it makes gamers. It made us into gamers. The reason why we're here, right here in front of you, is because of Pandemic.
Yeah.
And
We owe it a lot.
We owe it a lot. And so Pandemic is my number 36. Still my top 50. It's a game I'll never, ever, ever get rid of. I love Pandemic. Yeah,
Nice.
36.
Very cool. My number 36 is a new game that does 2 of my favorite things and puts them together. Nick, what do we like doing here?
Bumping Tracks?
Bumping tracks, bro. Do I like tile placement? Would you
too.
describe me as a tile placement lover?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Planet Unknown has both of those things.
I was wondering where you're going with this. Okay.
Planet Unknown mixes polyomino tile placement with bumping tracks and combo-tastic goodness. This game is all about kind of terraforming a planet via the types of tiles that you are placing down. And there's a few things I love about this game. One, it's always fun to put together trying to build something efficiently and place down tiles as cleanly and
very
neatly as you
satisfying,
can. I like things like simultaneous play. This game has where everyone's doing stuff at the same time. There's this lazy Susan that's in the middle that provides all these depots, and if the depot's pointing at you, you have 2 options of tile that you can choose. If you're the active player, you can spin the Susan to whatever depot you like. Everyone else takes from it, so everyone's placing stuff and doing things at the same time, keeps it nice and neat.
Yep.
And what's really fun is you'll place down a tile, and then whatever landscapes are showing on that tile, there's usually 2, you will bump up 1 space on their corresponding tracks.
Yeah.
There are like a civilization track, and as you go up each track, you'll kind of trigger bonuses that happen. So as you go up the Civ track, you'll start to get these Civ cards. And it's a bit of a race to get them because you have more selection, but they might give you immediate benefits, end game points, different things like that.
Tons of stuff.
There's a tech track, which will give you abilities that you can unlock so that you can then start to break some of the rules and do better versions of things. There's this kind of greenery track, which gives you these like biomass pieces, which are little 1x1s, which fill in some of the holes and stuff like that. There's a rover that you can go and activate, and then you can eventually get a second rover, and they're going around picking up meteorites and picking up life pods to save people. Things of that nature. There's all sorts of stuff. And so what's really fun is along all of these tracks, there's these little wheels that show you, says, hey, you can bump up any track you want, the same or a different track. And when I do that, I'll bump up this track, which gives me over here. Now I've unlocked this new tech, so now that when I do something in the future, I can do this better. Or I can get a bonus so I can unlock another track, and I bump that track up. It's immensely satisfying to work up these tracks, and you will always feel like you're doing stuff because you will always be moving up tracks. There's nothing that you place that won't move you up a track, really.
Yeah.
It's about like, which tracks do I focus on? What do I try to do? And then what you're trying to do is fill in your planet as full, as completely and efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Manage the meteors, because if a meteor lands and stuff, it makes it so you can't score that row or column if it's full. You are trying to be the best amongst your neighbors. You have these 2 objectives between you, one to your player to your right, one to the left, that you're competing for. So you want to be the best at those objectives to score points. Every row or column you fill up completely will be worth points. And this game is just fun. There's no downtime. You're always doing stuff. It's fun to bump those tracks. And then this game has a ton of variety built in because every planet has a basic side and a basic corporation side. But they also have asymmetric planets that are like wildly different.
Way different.
They do all sorts of crazy
stuff. There's like 11 of them. There's tons.
And there's different corporations. So the backside of your player board can flip over, so your corporations have different technological powers that they give you, different
There's so much
game-breaking rules. You can play with base standard stuff. You can play with an asymmetric planet in the same corporation, asymmetric planet and asymmetric corporation. There's a bunch of objectives.
Really
you can solo
apparently.
it. There's a lot here that's really, really fun, but the polyomino tile placement is always really enjoyable. Bump and tracks is always really enjoyable. Combos always really enjoyable. This game was meant to be just like fun. So good. Planet Unknown. Love it so much.
Good. All right, that's number 36, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's get number 35.
My number 35 is akin to what Nick was just talking about recently. This is Pandemic Legacy.
Oh,
so this
wow,
is, and I'm
okay.
incorporating all the Legacy games,
Yes,
1, 2, and 0. In this, the Pandemic Legacy experience, we have played through them all. We did day-long challenges for each of them where we streamed it live from beginning to finish, and we played it in like 16-odd hours each time. And these games are so fun. When we got to a certain point in Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which is the first of these challenges we did, I immediately understood this is why this game went to number 1 of all time. I completely understand. Because now you have the fun of a pandemic game where you have the same goals of like, we're working together to save the world, but massive things about the world change. And stuff that happens from this game are going to have real world consequences in the future games and things like that. That was so fun. Obviously, when Pandemic Legacy happened, Legacy games were not a thing. It was not something that we understood. And the fact that you're going to tear up cards, you're going to sticker the board, you're going to have a completely unique game by the end of it. You will not have the same experience that anyone else has. Not exactly. And then the twists and turns of the story as you go is so incredible. Pandemic Legacy Season 2 is wildly different from Season 1 because it follows
in a lot
up
of ways, but just
very much so, but it follows up the events of the first one. So the world's different now. And then Pandemic Legacy Season 0 goes back in time. It's kind of a prequel where you're doing like espionage stuff. And that might be my favorite overall game because like it works very differently in terms of what you're doing. There's like,
different identities. And
there's different identities and
stuff.
Powers. You're changing identities and stuff with the Soviet Union, Cold War, intrigue and stuff. it's very cool. And the way they all kind of tie together, the whole Pandemic Legacy system of games, all three of them, are incredibly done. They're just so cool.
Yeah, they're incredible.
And they make epic gaming experiences.
Yes.
So
Some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, for sure.
Exactly. So I'm so glad we played through them all. That's my 35 Pandemic Legacy. The way that they change stuff while keeping it pandemic is just so fun to explore.
Yeah.
So fun to explore.
So good. My number 35 is a game that I'm pretty sure will end up higher on my list. And this is a game about farming, because it's The Farm, La Granja.
Oh,
La Granja is such a good game.
We've come to this one recently, and
I know
why this is a classic now.
Board and Dice did like a deluxe version of La Granja,
which is tight.
And so they hired us to play it, and we had never played La Granja. Always heard really good things about the older version. The older version also is just fine. You can play it on BGA, so I have played the older version a couple times.
It's great.
But the new version was also great. But there's not tons of the stuff they changed. They mostly just added a bunch of modules.
A couple of graphical design things, just like minor things.
But this is a game where you're building out kind of your farm, and you have these cards, and you have quad-use cards. Not even just like multi-use, but there's like two. There are quad-use cards where you can slot them into this big, cool double thick board.
Yeah.
And if you put them on the left side, they're like vineyards and fields and stuff. Stuff that you put the resources on. If you put them at the top, they're going to be in order. If you put them on the bottom of your board, they're going to have a special power. If you put them on the right side of your board, it's going to be some kind of expansion for your farm. And so, like, every card you have to choose how to use it because it's going to be slotted into one of these four sides of the boards. And you're just like, this quad-use cards is so insane.
Yeah, because you're like, of course you want to use them for all of their purposes.
Yes.
So, like, what do I let go of?
Like, oh, this power is so cool, but I really need, like, another grape field over here because I just don't have enough grapes. But, like, also, I can get more storage stuff over here for some pigs and stuff like that. But then also, I also need to make sure I'm doing orders. So maybe I should put on it's just, like, so much to think about, and it's amazing. And the big main board there's a kind of a market in the middle. You're doing some area control there, but there's another parts around the board that you're essentially delivering stuff to.
Yeah,
and you're delivering stuff
in town
from your farm to the different markets in the town. And those markets want different stuff, and then as you kind of unlock them, you get more stuff. It's really good. The original version is great. You can play it on BGA. It's great. The new deluxe version is really, really cool. We got to play
a bunch of modules.
We got to play like one of the modules, and it was like really, really cool.
Really excited for all the modules.
I'm so excited for this game. And this is a game we haven't played too much, and it's already this high on my list because we played it once, and we were both just like, well, that's in the top 50.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's coming up later for Mike. I don't think you've talked about it yet.
I have not.
And so I assume it's coming up higher on this guy's list. We were both just like,
you don't know me.
Immediately like, oh, okay, that was really good.
Yeah, it was one of those things that like kind of like Castles of Burgundy was, where you're like, I've heard it's a classic, it's a classic, can't stand up to everyone talking about it, and you're like, yeah, it deserved its praise.
Yeah, the new version is cool. I'm really excited for all the modules. I'm really excited to get it. I think it's coming somewhat soonish.
It's on the way, yeah. Certainly this upcoming year.
Crazy good. La Granja is amazing. I cannot wait to play. I would assume it's going to climb higher, which is pretty crazy considering we're in the mid-30s.
It does, but it does like, so much cool stuff, though.
Ooh, it's good, yeah. So La Granja is my number 35.
Nice. Those are number 35s. Let's go ahead and hop into number 34. True crossover. Let's do it.
Okay.
You're going to say?
Yeah.
The game is
No, the game is Baron Park.
Oh, okay, not true crossover. I tried.
I don't know if we're going to have a true crossover. I don't think so. Nonetheless, Baron Park is my number 3. Praise B. We need one per list. Phil Walker Harding, Praise B. I honestly think we've had one per list, which I think
we have. Yeah, Phil Walker Harding is amazing.
Amazing. Baron Park is so good. Baron Park kind of, I feel like, is one of the first kind of polyomino tile games that made that mechanic really popular. I think Patchwork was one of the first ones. Baron Park was also another. This was a game where you're building out a bear park and you have your own little board.
It's a zoo. How good?
You made a little zoo. And you're putting these polyomino tiles down. The polyomino tiles were different enclosures and animal houses for like pandas, koalas, goby bears, and then what's the last one? Something.
Hairy dudes and Speedos.
Yep, exactly. Bears, big old bears. But and so you're putting out these polyomino tiles, and you are trying to fill in your boards. When you fill in your boards, you'll be covering up different symbols, classic Phil Walker Harding style.
Yep.
And that's going to allow you to get more of these tiles. You can also fill in kind of a construction area, which will allow you to get another board, so you can build out your zoo. That way, you'll end up having 4 boards at the end of the game.
Correct.
Once you fill all the places but one on your board, there's a little pit that you cannot fill in until it's the last spot on your board, and then you'll grab a bear statue, which is worth a lot of points, and you'll put it there, and then that board is complete. And basically, once someone completes all 4 of the boards, the game will end.
Yep.
There are some kind of public objectives that you are going for, that you're racing for. It might be like the first person to have 4 koala bear tiles in there, 4 polar bears, to have these lunch streets in a line, kind of thing. All these different ones you can play.
Everything in the game is kind of a race because as you get these bear houses, these the kind of bigger level enclosures, the first time someone takes it, it's more valuable than the last person who takes it. The objectives you're racing for, every time someone takes a bear statue, they become less valuable. So you really are trying
I never thought
to
about it that
complete
way.
as much stuff as quickly as you can.
Yeah, it is a big race game. I never. You're totally right. I never
in
thought
every
of it that
aspect
way.
almost.
Yeah,
except
it really
for like
is.
the specialty pieces.
It's so good. It's a classic for a reason.
Oh my gosh.
The expansion is great. It adds like monorails and like grizzly bears. You have a 5th board then, which is really cool. It's just such a good game. It's a classic. It's a modern classic for a reason.
It's one of those games
that
that
around forever.
Yeah, you just feel good playing it. You know what I mean?
It's just it's there's lots of decisions, but it's not like stressful.
Yeah.
It just goes over really, really well. I love Barron Park so much. Praise be.
Praise be, Phil
My number
Walker.
34.
Very good pick. Very good pick. My number 34 is as relaxing as a fist fight because it's unmatched.
Oh, truth.
In this game, you're fighting each other. This is a system of expansions now. The unmatched system is a skirmish game where you are going to pick, if you're assuming playing a 1 versus 1, which is how most people play. Yeah. You're going to each choose a character, a hero that you're going to play as. They may come with a sidekick, and you're just trying to knock the other player's hero out before you get knocked out. That's the entirety of the game, and it's all card play based. So you're going to move around a board, drawing cards, and then using your cards to fuel your attacks. And all the characters and stuff are highly thematic. So there are characters from Myth and Legends, there are characters from TV shows, from Marvel and things like that.
Yep.
And all of it, which is what's so fun, is compatible with everything else.
Yeah.
So any character can fight any character. So you can have the Raptors from Jurassic Park fight Little Red Riding Hood, and that is so awesome.
It is a fun switch,
And they're going to be pretty evenly matched if you can work them well.
Yeah.
So what's really fun is that they're thematic. So for example, the Raptors, they're pack hunters. So if you get various of your Raptors, you have 3 surrounding the same person. As you go to attack, your attack will be stronger because it's it's basically saying that they're working together for a coordinated attack.
Yeah.
Little Red has a bunch of symbols on her cards, and whatever's at the top of your discard pile is what's in her basket, and that's going to modify the current card you're playing. So there's this kind of sequencing.
Beowulf is using rage.
Uses rage and stuff like that.
It makes sense. Sinbad's really, really fast.
Yeah, really
it's
quick.
just like,
It's awesome. And that's what's so fun for us. The art in this game, through the various artists they've used now,
unmatched, you could say.
is unmatched. It's incredibly evocative, punchy art. It's so incredible. And you have different artists now who all bring their style to the game, but they all fit in the same world.
They do. And they're all very different.
Nothing looks like out of place, but they're all unique in their own way. Every character has these beautiful cards that make them feel like the character. Like Achilles gets so much stronger when his sidekick Patroclus dies. He goes into this rage over his fallen friend and lover, and just goes bonkers. And like that's how that story goes. Achilles loses his mind when that happens.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's like those things are so fun, and they always hit it with making the character feel thematically sensible.
I feel like they've done a pretty good job of not having too much power creep.
Yeah.
I think that
It's not an overly complicated game.
They've gotten more complex, but they haven't necessarily gotten more powerful. That's the problem with these kinds of games. It's like new characters tend to be way
Can they
stronger
play
than
the
old
old,
ones. And
yeah.
I feel like that hasn't really happened. Some of the strongest characters are from the original pack, and so Unmatched is incredible.
Yeah, there's just a wealth of characters to try. So this is one that's like really cool because most sets come with their own board, a little 2-pack even or a 3-pack.
Yeah.
So it's like, just get the characters you're interested in. Yes. You can play with that. And then if you want to collect more, like we collect it all, you can obviously very much do that and stuff. There's this great tournament scene that's forming around Unmatched. People do all sorts of talking about this character versus that character and the benefits of this one. And there's just so much to explore.
All these weird strategies. Oh, this kind of strategy. I'm like, oh, you think about
people are
this game
getting
way
into
more
it,
than I
which
do,
is always such a good sign. We get that robust community.
It's quick. It's like 20-minute, 30-minute
20-minute bout, really fun. Unmatched is so cool. The art is unparalleled.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is like the one game that like we will collect all of till the end
every
of time.
single time.
Till the end of time. Just so if nothing else for the art.
Yeah, real talk.
That's Unmatched.
That's number 34 then. Let's get number 33.
So Nick, I'm not averse to doing the theater.
You are not.
I'll do some theater. And a game that celebrates the theater is Shakespeare.
Shakespeare indeed.
Shakespeare is such a good game, a worker placement or action selection game. all around putting on a play for the queen. And you're trying to put on the most prestigious play possible so that the queen will come visit your performance. That is like the ultimate goal.
Of, like smashing watermelons, Gallagher style.
Absolutely. R.I.P. Gallagher, man, up in the sky smashing the watermelons in heaven. So Shakespeare had a relationship with the queen. Relationship?
Maybe.
Maybe. Probably not.
Who knows?
And so you're all trying to court the favor of the queen by putting on the best possible play. But the problem is, Nick, money's tight.
It is.
Right?
It really, especially in the theater.
Not a lot of money coming in. That's very true to life. Not a lot of money coming in. And so you want to put on the best play you can. However, you got to do it with the budget you got. So you could hire the best set designer possible, but they're going to cost more. So maybe I'll get a cheaper set designer. I'll have a couple of scene elements, but I'm not going to do too much. But you know what I'm going to do? They're going to be dressed to the nines. Yes, they're going to be really immaculately dressed and get them costumed up. There's also the play itself that you're working on. There's these 3 tracks for Act 1, 2, and 3 of the play. And I'm going to really develop maybe the third act. I want to have a rousing conclusion to my play, so I'm going to really work on that. And you're trying to do all these things to get these candles, which represent your prestige points. You can do it by having great costumes, by having a great set, by having a well-written play, having the best actors and such. But at the end of the game, you got to pay all your employees, all your actors, all your set designers and stuff. And you can lose a lot of points if you can't pay. So how do you balance the money coming in versus the money going out and thread that needle? It's so fun. The art is banana pants good.
It's really good.
Because all the actors and stuff are just characters from Shakespeare's plays, like King Lear and such.
You've always said that, like, this was the first game you saw that were like, oh, games can be beautiful.
Yes.
This was Pandemic and stuff isn't bad looking.
No.
But it's not particularly like, it's not like gorgeous.
Yeah,
you know?
This is like a celebration of art. And of course, it's something that's important to me because like I did the Shakespeare Festival like in college and things. And like I love Shakespeare. So to see them so fully realized and so vibrantly, again, King Lear is the one we always cite. It's just like this pained anguish expression. I'm like, that is exactly what King Lear is going through in the book. Like it makes sense and it looks so cool.
Yeah, it's good.
And the game is also mechanically very robust and fun. And the backstage expansion just adds a few cards because you're doing this bidding of how many actions am I going to do this turn. If I do fewer actions, I will get higher in turn order, which is vastly important in this game.
Yes, it is.
But if I'm just in the base game, all those other discs get put, they're not used at all. Yeah. But now you can use them in the backstage, which completes the game. It's so good.
The backstage expansion is the greatest expansion ever made.
I agree.
It is.
There's not much that does more with less.
There literally isn't. It's just a deck of cards. It's
but it changes everything. Shakespeare is so good. That's my number 33.
It's so good. Number 33 is Praise Be.
Praise be to fail.
Double up Praise Be. I think this is my highest Praise Be.
I'm going to guess.
Which means we might have to break our one per list rule.
It's okay.
This is Cacao. I really, really like Cacao. Cacao and Barron Park are pretty equal for me. As you can see, they're back to back.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
I love Cacao. Cacao, I believe you talked about it on the last list. Cacao is a game where you are building out a jungle. Everyone's building out together.
Yep, working out together.
Everyone has worker tiles, which will have other 4-sided tiles. And you'll have 4 workers on those tiles, but it could be 1 on each side. It could be 2 and 2, 3 and 1. It could be like that. And then, so you're going to be putting your worker tile next to a jungle tile. Those jungle tiles could be like farms, plantations that are growing cacao. You could also be like markets where you'll sell your cacao. They could be rivers, which will allow you to go up the river track. There could be like temples, which have some area control. Or they could be like gold mines, which just give you some money.
Yep.
Because your goal is to have money. And so you are putting your worker tile next to these jungle tiles. But then however many workers are on that side of the tile, that's how many times you get to activate that tile. So if you're at like the one farm where you're gonna get 1 cacao per worker, and you put the 3 there, you're gonna get 3 cacao. Which is cool. If you put a 1 worker there, you're gonna get 1 cacao. And then as you go, you're gonna be filling in the jungle tiles kind of around your worker tiles. And the whole thing is we make this big checkerboard. It's always gonna be offset between worker tiles and then jungle tiles. But the cool thing is, what Mike talked about last time, which is so satisfying in this game, is that you might put your tile next to this tile, but there might not be anything around the rest of that tile.
Right.
And you might have workers on other spots that aren't doing anything. But as the game goes on, those will get filled in. And all of a sudden, it might be like literally like 5-6 turns later, Mike ends up putting one of these tiles in on his turn because he has to. And then all of a sudden, boom, now I get to activate the worker that's now adjacent to that tile. And it's just really, really cool and satisfying.
Yeah, the delayed action situation.
It's really good. You can also overbuild tiles a couple times throughout the game to kind of reactivate them. It's quick, it's easy, it's Phil Walker Harding, it just works. Praise be is the best. It's just, Cacao is absolutely incredible. It's so much fun. I like it. Apparently, it's my favorite Phil Walker Hardy game, at least as of right now. That and Baron Parker just like so freaking good. Cacao, I feel like, is one that like no one ever really plays or no one really talks about.
It's on BGA. Y'all play it if you haven't.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Cacao is outstanding. It's my number 33. I really, really like it.
Respect, man. That is our 33s. A couple more, man.
32. Number 32 is a very weird game, and I don't really know how to describe it except for like a deck programming game. This is Fium.
Fium. Oh my gosh.
Fium, which is by Friedman Freeze and 2X Spiel. This is a game where like we kind of got this game because BGG is the one selling it because they're the kind of ones to bring over a lot of Friedman Freeze games.
Yep.
And this is a game where you are essentially like builders and architects in like ancient Egypt, and you are building out Egypt and stuff. But the interesting thing about this game is you're putting out these buildings, playing out these cards, but you don't own anything because everything in Egypt is owned by the pharaoh.
Of course.
So you're building up this stuff, but other people can use it because, again, it's not yours. It's the pharaoh's. And this is a game where you have kind of a deck programming game. It's not really a deck building game.
Right, not in the traditional sense.
No, because whenever you play a card, like, oh, I'm going to play this card, I'm going to do this thing, you're going to put it in your discard pile. And you can also spend money to get new cards, which you can then use, and they always go into your discard pile. But at one point, you're going to have to do an administrative action. And what's going to happen is you're going to be able to pull some people off of the board. You're also going to get some money. But then you also are going to get the top 3 cards of your discard pile. And then if you want the 4th card, you can pay a coin. If you want the 5th card, you have to pay another coin. And so you can take as many cards as you want, depending on how much money you have.
Correct.
So it's a deck programming game, because if you have a really, really good card, you do not want to bury it so far
you do
down.
not shuffle your discard pile ever. So the most recently played card is the first one to get back into your hand.
Exactly. So you kind of want to, as you're going, you start off with a very basic hand, you're getting much, much better cards as the game goes. So you kind of want to bury those ones. But sometimes you're like, I really need to do this now. You know what? This card's going to be a one-hit wonder. I'm going to play it once, and then it's just going to end up getting buried, and I'm not going to be able to get it back. Because you need money to buy these new cards, but you also need money to get them back out of your deck. Yeah. And that kind of deck programming is super, super interesting.
It's amazing.
And there's all these different cards that do different stuff. You're putting out these kind of like very abstracted pieces. And it's just like, this one is for everything that's this touching this, you're going to get a certain amount of points. This is now for however many building pieces are on this like little depot bar, you're going to get a certain amount of points. They're all over the place in terms of what they do. And it's just super interesting where it's got the kind of power grid mechanism, talking about Friedman Freeze, where the cards will have numbers. And so there is a row of those cards, and they're going to go from lowest to highest.
Right.
So when you get a new card, if it's a low card, you will then put it in its proper spot and then move everything else back. And so sometimes, just with the way the cards come out, you might get some like really powerful, strong cards in the beginning just because there happen to be a bunch of high cards out.
So the order is going to be kind of all over the place.
And it's just really, really good. Fium is just like one of those games that like, it's so freaking good. It's so just solid. Like, it's so hard to describe because it's just so different and weird. But it works.
Yeah, but you're ultimately trying to benefit the most based on the state of the board as it is. But Nick might go in and mess with that by turning a town into a settlement. I'm like, no, I needed that.
I needed that to be a town because
I was going to change that town to something else.
I have 3 towns connected by roads, and this card, I get points
for how reputation, which is all you really have.
Yeah, because all you have to work your reputation with the pharaoh. And so it's really, really good. It's just so good. It's incredible. Fium really is one of those games I wasn't really expecting much, didn't really know what to expect, and it just blew me away. Yeah, absolutely blew me away. That's number 32. What's number 32, Mikey?
Very nice. My number 32 is one of the best themes ever. This is a theme, this will be higher in Nick's list, where you are just being a rat bastard. This is the Proggles Club.
Oh, yeah. No,
the Proggles Club is a game, which is a chunky Euro game.
Yeah.
All about trying to ruin your reputation, ruin your life in as fanciful ways as possible.
Yes, exactly.
In this game, kind of like in this game, you have 3 kind of sections of the game that you're focused on. You can play it with just 2 of the 3, but just play all 3. In this game, you are trying to actively lose an election.
Yep.
You want to just not win that election.
Yep.
You want to lose as many votes as possible. You are trying to sell and get rid of all your possessions and go broke. You want to lose all your money, all your possessions.
Buying high, selling low.
Buy high, sell low, baby. And then there's also the kind of social circles. And of course, you want to ruin your friendships with as many people as possible. You do not want to be in good standing in society, in high society.
Person,
You're trying to be the worst person. So you're out here to make a mess.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun theme to play with of like, what can I do? It's like, I can get drunk in front of a bunch of people and go do a political speech. That'll probably be a mess.
Yeah,
That's probably something that won't
I
go
can
well.
start throwing stuff at a restaurant.
Yeah, I can start throwing a tantrum in a restaurant. I can sell this horse for pennies. And like, it's just so fun because so many games would be the other way around, which would be a great game, mind you.
No problem, yeah.
Like, I'm trying to win an election, do all this and get as rich as possible. It's just so fun to thematically spin it on its head. You don't actually have to change that much mechanically. It's just now instead of things that give you pluses, they give you minuses.
Yeah.
But it's so much more fun to do because we never do that in games, you know? It's so fun to think of like, what's the worst thing I could do right now? Minus, there's no murder in the game.
You're not breaking any laws.
You're just really looking bad in front of
huge
people.
Douchebag, yeah.
And it's just so fun to do with a game that's like heavy because it is actively difficult to do this. And you have these 3 areas of the game, and the way it works is you only count your highest score.
Which you don't want.
You want as low a score as possible to win. Whatever score is highest, that's your score. So you have to balance all 3 of these areas equally and get as low as you can on all 3,
and it's hard.
so that your highest score is actually quite low,
Yeah.
and that means you've won.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. It's difficult to get done. You can chain
really
together
hard.
card actions really well. It's just fun and interesting. The art's cool.
Yeah.
And just to make a chunky game about that subject is hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty
It
great.
never gets old. That is the Prodigal's Club, 32.
All right, it's awesome. All right, last one. Let's get number 31 now.
Number 31 is not on Nick's list. This is Brass Birmingham.
No, it's not. It's
It's
really
not on your
It's
list.
so
you got to give it another go.
It's
You're
not
gonna
my
try.
top 300,
You're gonna
yeah.
see it, man. You're gonna see it. My number 31 is Brass Birmingham. This is a game that a Martin Wallace game, which Nick does not have a ton of positive experience with Martin Wallace's games. It's been up and down for me. Okay, I'll take it. So hi, I'm Mike from the Brass. Brass Birmingham is a game about going through the Industrial Revolution and kind of building up jolly old England and stuff in the sexy days before pollution existed, before we knew what it was.
Exactly. No, it didn't exist back then.
It definitely wasn't like people living in smoke cities or anything like that. In this game, you are building up a network of canals and boats and stuff, and then a railway network as that gets developed, and you are building up cities with different types of industries.
Sorry, I'm such a douche. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So in this game, you are putting buildings out for your player board onto the map in different cities. You are connecting those up to canals. And this game, I think for me, was the initial thing that made me not like the game.
Yeah.
And then now has made me really love the game because I understand the game, is you are basically trying to mooch off of everyone else's achievements as much as possible.
Which you have to know going in.
You have to know that going in.
Yeah.
Because it's different than a lot of other games, at least at the time that we played it. I had not played a game like that before, and I didn't understand why everyone kept taking my beer.
Yeah.
And I also didn't realize
I made this beer.
Yeah, but they're like, yes, thank you very much. I'm
Thank
drinking it
you.
now. And you're like, but I wanted it. But at the same time, when they take my beer, my tile flips over. So it is actually a good thing for you that these things happen, but you got to figure it out. So the reason you're kind of mooching is because you might build railway networks into a place with a bunch of industries, but they're not your industries. Like, well, I can still get points for connecting up to that because this has a lot going on, but I'm the one that provides the connection to those industries and stuff like that. As I take stuff from you, I take the coal off of your little industry tile. If it completely empties, it gets to flip over. Now it's worth points for you. So you benefit as a result of that. But I also benefit because I'm mooching resources off of you, and it's all about that kind of interplay between the other players. How do I get myself put in a position where I'm going to benefit the most from this? We're probably all going to benefit some, but I want to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And the thing I really enjoy about the game is it's actually quite simple.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of types of actions. Mostly you're going to be putting stuff out onto the board or building out railways and your canals and stuff. It's in kind of 2 halves. The first half's the canal half, then the railway half. And you have all these cards that will either show you a city, meaning you can do any kind of tile in that city, or it might show you a specific industry like ironworks or what have you. And you can play on any city that you're connected to that has ironworks. So there's that kind of, both cards provide a certain level of flexibility and also a hindrance, which is really interesting. It's just all about like, you're doing that over there? Cool, I'll get in on that action. Yeah,
totally.
no problem. I'll take a little bit of that. And it's so fun to do that once you understand. Once I understood that that's what the game is, then it turned around for me. You're trying to have as
knowing
much
what's
money as you
happening
can
is
to
key,
fuel your industry, and it's just really, really fun. I quite enjoy Brass Birmingham. I understand, I mean, obviously Brass in one form or another has been around for a long time. Birmingham is really good. So that's my 31.
All
it's
right.
climbed up quite a lot.
Yes, it has for you, for sure. My number 31 is a game that it's just really good because you can play with anybody. This is Paint the Roses.
Oh, yeah.
Paint the Roses is a really wonderful co-op deduction game. I really like co-op deduction games. There's a couple ones that came out this year.
Yeah.
Paint the Roses being one of them. And it's a mechanic I really enjoy.
Yeah.
This is a game where you are building out the Queen of Hearts garden in the Alice of Wonderland universe.
Extended universe.
You are gardeners building out your extended universe.
The AIWEU.
Exactly. And you're building out her garden. She has specific ways she wants the garden to look, but she has not told everyone everything. She basically has told each of us a different whim that she has.
She's kind of yelling demands as she passes each of us by.
Exactly. She's like, hey, by the way, make sure to put the pink roses next to the red roses. We're like, okay, cool. So everyone has these whim cards. There are easy, medium, and hard. Easy whim cards will always be there'll be some kind of match on there. So easy whims are always going to be a color to color. It's like purple next to pink. Medium cards can be either color to color or shape to shape. The shapes are suits of cards because it's Alice in Wonderland.
Yep.
And then hards can be either color to color, shape to shape, or shape to color. And so what happens is on your turn, you're going to take these really nice acrylic tiles. You're going to put it out there, and the acrylic tile will have some suit of card on there in the shape of a bush. And it'll also have a color of rose on there. And you put it into the ever-growing garden, and then you put your cubes on there to show how many matches that made for you. So if your card says, hey, I need to make pink to purple matches, and I put this pink tile next to 2 purple roses, I'll put 2 cubes on there to say, hey, this makes 2 matches for me. And then if anyone else that made a match for them, they would also put their cubes on that tile. And then everyone as a group you're forced to guess on one person's whim. You obviously can't guess on your own.
Yeah.
So then Mike and everyone else might be like, there's 2 purples next to a pink here. I think Nick might be pink to purple. And so they make a formal guess. I flip it over. If they're correct, we will get to move the gardeners forward on this track. If we're incorrect, the queen will move double because the queen on this track is behind us with a big old axe because she's trying to kill us. She's like, I can't ya. She's very bad.
So if you guess incorrectly, the turn immediately ends. She moves double speed, and now it's like, well, at least we know what Nick's isn't. So maybe on the next turn we can guess the other thing and get
you're
it then.
limited to what tiles you can grab. So sometimes you're like, I can't make a match. But then there's also this whole meta game of like, okay, Mike put this out. It didn't make any matches.
Maybe that's
so what can we eliminate here? And there's so much of the meta game. Be like, okay, they're like, oh, I think it's yellow to spade. You're like, well, if it's yellow spade, why didn't Mike grab this tile? This tile would have been way better for that. And sometimes
get deep into the thought of it all.
It's really, really fun. It's super, super simple. This is one of those games that's got like 5 rules, but so much depth. You can teach it to anyone. It's just so good. It's going to be up there for my favorite games of the year. It's just incredibly good. Paint the Roses. I absolutely love it. It's just an absolute home run.
Absolutely, that is a good pick, my friend. That's our list.
It is
40 to 31, getting down to it, man. We're getting in. Like I said, not that these
in the
aren't
top third.
all timers, but we're getting into some like, oh man, these have been around for a long time, or we have really dug in recently to them. That is us. If you're following along and giving us your top 100, we'd love to see that.
Yes.
If you haven't done it yet, hop in now. It's a great time to hop in.
Yeah, you do.
Tell us the
30.
games that you love the most on this earth. We really love that. Thank you. As you've seen beneath us here, our patrons are scrolling by. Please, if you have a couple extra bucks and you haven't given it to Tabletop Alliance, which you should do
that first.
Consider giving it to us. It helps us pay for the studio and equipment and travel and all sorts of things. To fuel more awesome gaming content.
Yeah,
so
sure
thank you for that, and thank you to all our patrons right here. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, that's it, everyone. That's our 40 to 31. I am Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph, and we'll catch you all in the next top 10.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for watching that latest top 10. Man, we are getting into the high games. Only 3 games left, 3 series left. Oh, I'm so excited. We want to give a big shout out to our channel sponsors, Restoration Games, Lucky Duck Games, Board Game Geek. And again, we are partnering with Tabletop Alliance. So if you have a couple extra bucks, please give it over to them. They really deserve it. We also want to give a big shout out to our month sponsor, the Supreme Padishah Emperor of the Known Universe, Gregory White. Greg, thank you so much for sponsoring us for the month, and thank you so much for letting us know of your great holiness. We do appreciate you very much, and thank you for being such a benevolent emperor and ruler. We really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye.